businesses, you're all talking about your children and everything else. What I want to do today is I'll give you a bit of an understanding of what a face profiler does, a bit about my history of how I got to where I am, where I use it, etc. But if everyone's interested in learning a bit about each other,
yeah.
Okay. Whenever I do a talk, I don't want to just talk at people. I want you to be able to walk away and to get some skills to take with you. So I'm going to look at least 2 traits where you'll be able to use those straight away and help you to build a business and make better connections. But a face profiler is what I do. I work with the body language, facial features, facial expressions, and NLP. So your facial features will tell me your personality, how you like to think and process. The facial expressions, those little twitches on your face that when somebody says something or something happens, you get a little quick flash on the face. I think it's a 1/5 of a second, down to 1/25 of a second, what we call a micro expression. That tells me your emotional state, what you feel about what's being said, and also tells me if you're telling the truth, if it's in the discussion. Then your body language, that will give me more information again. So I'll look at your facial features, understand your personality, not assume I've got it right, so then I use the NLP. How do I talk to you to make a connection in the way that I believe that you want to be spoken to? Once I've got that, I'm then watching for the body language and the micro expressions to see whether I've got it right. My whole business is really about helping people make sense of their lives and also their relationships. So it's all about how do we enhance your relationships through meaningful communications. So when people ask me, what do you bring to the table? And we've all spoken today about the careers that you have and what you bring. I struggled with it for quite some time, and I realised that I bring the table. Because what it comes down to, if you don't make a connection with people, you go nowhere in your business. So your focus has to be on them, and in a genuine way, not to manipulate, but to get a good relationship with them and connect with them. So that's where this came from. The name Celebrity Profiler is not one that I actually chose for myself. It was given to me by the media. And the reason for that was I was profiling people like Julie Bishop, with her eye roll in Parliament a few years ago on Channel 7. I've been on Channel 9. I've been interviewed by newspapers all around the world. Last October, I was hired by Disney Films and Gillette. They flew me to London to do 3 hours work. I was over there for 2 days. Great holiday. And my job was to actually talk to the journalists. They flew in, so they paid me to be interviewed by journalists, 120 journalists from around the world. My job was to tell them the stories the face gives away before you utter a single word. Now, Disney were launching their new outfits, and Gillette were launching their new razor called Pro One. So my job there, every face tells a story. Gillette's story was that every story has a face. So my job was to link all that. So I had a great time away. Now, that's at that end. The celebrity side of it, you've all mentioned your children. The reason I've stayed with that title, I've been trying to get this into education so that teachers have my skill. Because with a young child, there's about 68 traits I'm looking at the moment. I'm bringing in a few traits, I'll get 81 traits I'm looking at. But in a newborn child, I can pick up 10 traits. So if they have a gift for music, I can see that straight away. I can tell you if they're going to be fidgety when they get to school. So this is at birth, so in 5 years' time, what they're going to be like when they go to school. So a teacher can look at a child and understand that child's learning behaviours. So if they have things like Asperger's, autism, etc., before they get labelled, you can actually work with them. And some of the kids I've worked with are no longer on their medication, they're no longer seeing psychologists. So if you understand the child, you're able to then take them through to the next level where you can then make sure their education is more enjoyable. As they go through school, pick up the hobbies, sports and careers that will suit them. Then when you get into later life, being able to have better relationships as well. So my work covers a large range of areas. Working in the dating scene, is that face on the dating site, who they really say they are. So making it safer. And that originally came from looking at businesses with their LinkedIn profiles, for instance. Is that person able to do the job they said they could do? So this is the good thing about being able to read somebody to that level. Okay, what I'll do, I'll pass around these if you'll share them around on that side. Down that side, meet them around the middle. Now there may not be enough, I think I did about 18 or 19. So we'll see how we go.
So you can read the faces from a
I got into this, I'll come back to that. When I went to Newcastle from Sydney back in 1975, I was 23 years old. I was working with telecom. I fast-tracked my level. While most people were doing their training with telecom and then doing a TAFE course afterwards, I did the two at the one time. So I qualified younger than everybody else. They then put me in charge of a group of people in Newcastle, and I was the youngest person on the staff. My second in charge was 15 years older than me, and one of the other guys in the staff had actually been my senior in Sydney. So now I'm there, the youngest person, I get everybody else on side. So that's when I started to understand I needed to be able to read people more effectively. When I was into my 30s, I then joined the surf club. Now, I've never been in the surf club before, so I did my bronze medallion at the age of about 32. The following year, as I finished my training, they then asked me to be a control captain. And of course, they offloaded all the kids that nobody else wanted, all the trouble kids. That year we won Patrol of the Year. The next year they took me to be the club captain, and the Patrol again won the Patrol of the Year without me being involved in the selection. So I realised being able to deal with the youth, being able to change their way of behaviour. The issue I had now was that I was the same age as everybody else in the surf club, but what I was the least experienced. Now I'm not, now at that point I'm telling them what to do. And then I got asked to look after two other beaches as well as mine as his own supervisor. So we could always stop in the Newcastle beaches. And all of a sudden, I'm the same age as everybody else, but I'm the least experienced, and I'm still telling everybody what to do. So again, another situation where I had to get to connect and be able to work with people. About 38 years old, I was married, 3 children. My boys then were 4, 11 and 12. And their mother decided to leave. So I raised the 3 boys on my own. Now at that point, now I've got to understand my children. And by the way, this is where I really got a respect for mothers, because now I'm trying to do that, and I'm not equipped for it. So it was a bit of a struggle. But I was pretty lucky. One of the things that I did point out to my boys was that they had to learn how to sew, cook, iron, everything themselves. The older 2, 11 and 12 years old. Because when they found a partner, and because they wanted to be with it, not because they needed to be with it. Because most boys grow up with mum, you look after them all the way through, you pamper them and everything else. They then find a girlfriend, and she's a replacement. So I wanted to make sure my boys grew up and were able to find the partners that they wanted to be with. So I was always involved all the way through in helping people understand themselves more effectively. My sons now are 38, 37 and 30. And they've all got, well, my grandfather 5 times over now, and my boys, they've found the partners of their dreams. I also realised, and this is the thing, when I look at facial features and everything else, every trait has an upside, every trait has a downside. The more upside you have, the downside is just going to be just as strong when you're under stress. That's when it will react. So somebody who has dramatic appreciation, who's very expressive, and the natural performers, when they're stressed, they do stress with the same fervour. It's like a pressure cooker with a valve that keeps letting it off. And to somebody who's more aesthetic, it's about feelings inside, it gets exhausting. You know, we're labelled as drama queens. So there's no right or wrong trait. So one of the things in looking at the upside and downside of everything, I also had to do with my boys, build a relationship with their mother. Otherwise, if they didn't respect their mother, they wouldn't respect other women. How are they going to find the right partners? I've been married, of course, twice. I've been through a lot of relationships. I also had business partners. In one year, I had $250,000 at the beginning of one year. At the end of the year, I was near bankrupt. So I've had some bad choices in business partners as well. So I had to learn how to read people more effectively. So with my ex-wife, build a relationship with her so the boys respected her. She came to me one day, she needed someone to stay for 3 months. And I said, okay. That was 3.5 years ago, and she stayed with me all that time. She left 2 weekends ago. So I've now got my second bedroom back, which is now my office. So I'm quite happy with that. But what I'm trying to not impress you with all this, but impress upon you that you can decide how you look at things when you actually talk to people. The whole idea, people say that I might be making judgments when I'm looking at somebody, but I'm basing it on what I can see, not what I felt. How many times have you met somebody who has reminded you of somebody in the past? What's your initial feelings? It's like, if there's been a bad, perfect reaction, move away from it. The thing that happens then is, they pick up your vibes. So you actually create, and then you go, oh, but I was right, they behave that way. How many times have you created a self-fulfilling prophecy? So when I read people, I'm looking at the dimensions on the face, the ridges and crevices, and some of those little lines. And by the way, your one's a great idea, but please, ladies, don't work on these ones. People say that these are, you know, like most ladies go, all these wrinkles, I want to get rid of them. We've heard the saying that beauty is only skin deep, but ugly goes all the way to the bone. They're lines that show beauty all the way to the bone. You don't get those lines unless you smile and laugh a lot. The only two places you'll get them is out in the sun, squinting really hard, and you really drag the muscles that go around the eyes, you tighten them up so much you get these lines, or you smile a lot. If I walk into a room of women like this, and I don't know anybody there, and I'm not speaking or anything else, I'm just joining the group, and I need to talk to somebody, it's going to be the ladies that have got these lines. Why? Because they've got more fun to talk to. If you haven't got those lines, then the end reason is you haven't smiled much. And by the way, not one trait defines a person. You'll find that if I'm looking at the lines up here, somebody might say, okay, magic wand, Botox, etc. Really work well. Then you look for the corner of the mouth. If it's up, you know that something might have been done there. If it's down, you go, oh, pretty good chance, no lines here, mouth turned down on the corners, because they frown a lot, these muscles get stronger and fall down. So therefore that person's not a very happy person, more pessimistic than optimistic. So I'd find someone else to talk to if I was just looking for someone to chat to. So this is how the traits actually work. First of all, on the sheet, when it comes to it, for those that are in business, that sheet there, when we look at it, you've got sales, you've got workplace, and you've got personal. In sales, and you're all in sales, aren't you? You're all dealing with the public, talking to people. If you're a parent, you're in sales. So, things that people mainly tell me that they have issues with are disengaged communication, poor relationships, misbuying signals, they're talking to somebody. Well, how many times have you been talking to somebody, and this will be only a few of you in the room and others will be the opposite way around. You've gone up and spoke to somebody, everything's going really well, and then all of a sudden, they just seem to lose interest. Have you come across that? Okay? On the other hand, you've been listening to somebody, and they just keep talking on, and you just want to find out the bigger picture of what's going on. Well, that's one of the traits we're going to look at today, so you'll understand when you talk to somebody, how to present to them. What I do is I teach people how to go and look at someone's LinkedIn profile, look at the photographs, and from the photograph, be able to work out their personalities, how they like to think and process. So when you put a proposal together, you put it together for them. So you're ready, already prepared before you go through the door. And in that way, as it says there, you can shorten your sales cycle and increase your profitability. In the case of workplace, well, it's all about relationships. We've got dysfunctional workplaces these days. At one point, we didn't have bullying to a high extent. Now we're saying that 1 in 3 people will report that they've been bullied. When it comes to schools, by the way, and this is why I'm passionate about schools, 2012, we had 100 kids a year were taking their lives. These are school-age kids. 10 to 20 times that attempting it. 7,000 kids going to hospital from self-harming, and we had 1 in 4 children with psychological issues. In 2005, it was 1 in 5 with psychological issues. Last year, the kids haven't got better at committing suicide. There's just more of them. There was 450 kids took their lives in Australia. That's the stuff that's going on. This is why I'm passionate to be able to get this into education.
How young are those children, Alan?
Anything from 7 years up. Now, as far as you might say that that's a bit hard to believe. I grew up, my father died when I was 3. I grew up with my mother and sister. I was told by my uncle, who was my role model, that I'd never amount to anything. That's what I got all the way through. I was 8 when I tried to commit suicide. I've never tried since because I got angry. People said, get rid of your anger. That kept me alive until I grew up and understood the difference. So, kids go through this. So as I say, with why I'm passionate with schools, I know what I went through. I know what my sons were going through because I was taking that role and trying to be their mother as well, being involved in everything they were doing. And then also now with the grandkids, I don't know what's happening in school. And it's not that we don't have good teachers, we've got bloody good teachers. But a lot of them, they'll only last 5 years when they do their training. We've got a system that does quite well. Good kids, we've got great teachers as well. We've got a system that doesn't look after either parties. And that's what needs to change. So, in that, wherever we can help the kids, it's going to be better. If you're a parent, and I'll give you an example. About 6 years ago, I had a lady who came to me. She was managed hotels, but she was putting a singles group together. And first of all, she asked me to do an event for her on the weekend, which was called How to Avoid the Psychopath and Other Practical Dating Tips. So we had a bit of fun with that. And she said, well, can you read my son? And I said, well, tell me about him. She said, well, he's 6 years old, the school wants to kick him out. They don't want him there. The after-school care can't handle him either. He's got Asperger's. Now, she's managing hotels, so she's so reliant on the school and the aftercare. So I profiled him by his photographs because he wouldn't sit still for me. She took some photographs, sent them through, and where I get it usually face on, over the two shoulders so I can see the side of the head on both sides. The full length of the body because the difference between your upper body and your length of your legs will tell me how much the person needs to sit or how much they need to be on the move. And in the hand itself, you can see hand dexterity, I can see wrist take a trace, and that's one we might try in a minute anyway, to look for the wrist take and body. So with that, I profiled him. She was smart. She went back to the school and the after-school care and told both of them that the other group were putting this in place, and if it failed, it's because they didn't do it. So the after-school care and the teachers decided to do something with it. A year later, well, first of all, the first testimonial I got was a written one a couple of weeks later. Then I got one a year later, just up in Town Hall in Newcastle, and it was filmed by the whole audience, talking about her son and the change in his life. He was now doing presentations in front of his class at the age of 7. He then, from the age of 7, 2.5 years later, she did another testimonial for me. And in that testimonial, she talked about how they actually reduced his medication. He was back in the normal stream of the school, and they'd actually sacked the psychologist. So, psychologist in the room, sorry about that, wasn't needed anymore. So from there, she did sent me another report when he was 11 years old. This is what I love about my job. You've all talked about your children and everything else. I do this because I love the feedback I get. The only reason I do it. I'm still getting testimonials from people like this lady 5 years after, or actually 6 years now, since I did the work with them. They're still getting results. Now, the 11th birthday. At the 11th birthday, she said, well, she bit the bullet. Had all these mates could come from school. And I said, how'd it go? She said, well, it was a noisy party, but it was a boys' party. It was just that sort of noise. No problem. She used the same skills to find the man of her dreams about 3 years earlier. He has a son which is a year younger than her son, and they've moved down south of Sydney. And she's getting on really well. The boys get on like a house on fire. So it's all working very well. So if you've got children then, because the thing is that when they grow up, this is where I don't believe in helicopter parenting, because I believe that when you helicopter parent a child, you rob them of some of the experiences. When my boys were growing up, they'd get into a fight. I just made sure the fight was safe. If they didn't have that fight, they wouldn't learn the proprieties. Because the worst thing can happen is that then when they're 20, 40 years old, in a pub with an empty glass and a full gut of beer, and they don't know it hurts when you go hitting somebody, that's when things start to really go wrong. So it's teaching your children boundaries. The more you can understand their traits, the more you're able to develop those boundaries. So that's where this all comes from. Then as they grow up, one of the things that we have at the moment is a lot of problems with domestic violence. We're demonising boys at the moment, which is wrong. Because the whole thing is that when it comes to violence, yes, women, 2 out of 3 will be a victim. But the ratio of domestic violence in heterosexual and lesbian relationships is higher in lesbian relationships. So it's not a gender issue. It comes back to kids growing up, no idea, no boundaries, no proprieties. So we need to educate them younger. Then they grow up, they educate their children, and we spiral up out instead of going down the drain as we're doing at the moment. So that gets getting off on track. That's really about where I come from and why I do what I do. I've just got a passion for it. When I get people coming back, it's changing their lives. And it's not just children with issues. Another gentleman was involved with a group that Karen and I were both involved with some time ago. And in that group, we profiled all their children so they get an understanding of what I do. This guy's son, 5 years old, music trait, is now connected with his son, with using music. And his son loves it, and they've really bonded well. At the same time, his daughter, 7 years old, she had a couple of traits, like I said, were going to be great traits, but a problem with school. At the age of 8, she became a published author, and the youngest person ever climbed Sydney Harbour Bridge. All of those things on my website, on the success pages I call it, to be able to go and see those videos and everything else. So if you want to find out how you can use it for yourself, that's the place to go. But I'm just getting the nod that I've been talking for a while, so we'll move a little bit quicker. What I'd like to do is give you some examples. But the first one, what I'd like you to do is with your hand like that, in a stop sign, fingers together, have a look, and I can read the hands from here by the way. What I want you to do is look at the height of your first finger and your third finger compared to each other. Who's got a longer ring finger than their index finger? So this finger here is longer. Okay. Right. Your index finger, your first one, and your third finger, your ring finger, which one stands the taller? Yeah. So, who's got a longer ring finger? Okay. Right, yeah. Well, those people who just put their hand up, those who got a longer ring finger, everybody else, have a quick look at those. Put your hands up again. Okay. These are the risk takers.
Oh my.
Now, yeah, so that finger, see mine are about the same height as each other, the first and third finger.
It's only slightly higher.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've got somebody who's got a substantially, if my fingers were more like that, yes. If your fingers were more like this, where that finger's lower and this one's higher, that would be a risk taker. Now those that did have the longer ring fingers, who are you again? Okay, scenario for you. You're driving up to a set of lights, they're green, but as you're getting towards it, it turns amber. What do you do?
Drive through it.
Go for it.
That's what happens every time.
That's if you're on your own.
Now,
Yeah.
I was getting a talk to a women's group up in Singleton, and when I said that, I talked about being risk takers, and this woman said, no, I'm not a risk taker. Before I ran that scenario by them, I said, well look, you may not do it now, but when you were younger, did you drive fast? And she just went, I got caught coming in tonight. So with that, those that have got the shorter ring finger, which is your dominant hand? Your right hand. So this is the thing, we have a symmetry in the body. That also tells me more about how you're going to behave as well under stress. So those that have got the shorter ring finger, the same scenario, what do you do when you come up to the lights and they turn amber? Yeah, pause, right.
You can't stop, you'll get someone up your bum.
Well, those that have got, what I found, I gave a talk to Mortgage Choice, I was up at Hamilton Island, we had about 100 people in the room. And when I said this, everyone went through the risk taking, everyone was going yes. Then when I went to the one with the shorter finger, this woman said, oh, she's up in front of me, she said, I stopped and someone in the back of the room goes, yeah, and I'm behind you biting my horn, and everyone turned around and she's waving a big finger. So, people who have the shorter ring finger, they will take longer to make a decision. When you think about it. Now, I had a couple in Newcastle, there was a husband and wife, when we did this, he's got the long ring finger and she's got the short ring finger. And when I said to them, because he'd been talking earlier on, he wanted to get into trading, and she was very worried about it. And I said, well look, he has a gift because you're risk takers, and people they found in London in the stock market, those with the longer ring finger made 11 times more money than the other brokers. At the top of the tree, it was only 5 times as much. So it proved 2 things. One, if you have a particular trait, you have a gift for it, but other people can still learn it. So you don't, if you did have a music trait, you've got a gift for it. If you don't have a music trait, you just have to practice harder to get there. You can be just as good as anyone else. So with that, we found that those with the short ring finger, they hesitate, they think about it. So in her case, as I said to her at first, he's got a smile on his face. I was saying to her, look, let him go and trade. He's got all the traits that says you can trade well. And I said, then what are you going to do when you make all your money? And he goes, oh, probably invest. I turned around and said, that's when you sit on your hands. And Michelle, You're the one who makes decisions. It's long-term trading. This is where the gift has its real potential. You're going to do all your research. You're not going to miss anything. So that's why you use it. You look at the trade. There's no right or wrong trade. It's in what situation you're using it. Okay. On the sheet, one of the things that quite often you come up to somebody, first time you meet them, you would probably have found it when you walk up to somebody and you stand next to them, they move back a little bit. You've invaded their space because they are people, you're very affable, very quick to make friends with people. Other people are more affable who need a bit more space when you first meet them. If I look at somebody, I'm probably talking about I've seen the trade in you.
Affable people need more space.
They need more space.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So
Personal space.
personal space. So if you come out for a second, please? Just a quick demonstration. You just stand next to me where you feel comfortable. Yeah. You notice that? Now if I step in, how are you feeling now? Now, this is the thing. It's not that she's not friendly, she's more discerning. In other words, you're going to walk into the room, you're going to check people out and work out who you should stand next to and who you shouldn't. Which means you're not going to get conned. The over-affable person walks in as friendly with everybody. They're open to the cards. So there's no right or wrong trade. But if I meet you for the first time, I'd shake hands like this, and I'd talk to you. And if there's a group of people around, it's noisy and everything, I can find out if I've got rapport with you because I might lower my voice. And if you're interested in what I'm talking about, you'll step in because then I know you've got past that point where you've now been happy that you're comfortable with it.
How did you know that, Alan?
Okay, so this is on the first sheet there. If you have, thank you. You'll find the actual picture there. It's in the height of the eyebrows. Now, if you look at somebody in fear and surprise, if you look at somebody, the eyebrows go up. They naturally pull away, and we have the feeling of wanting to pull back from them as well. High set eyebrows that are just high up. And the way to measure it, when you're looking at somebody straight on, you look straight up through the pupil, and you're looking at the height of the iris, the coloured part of the eye, and you're seeing is that bigger, smaller, or just the same size as the gap between the top of the eyelid and the underside of the eyebrow. And the reason we go straight up through the pupil, some people are flat eyebrows, some are up like this, some are round. So we've got to get the same point on everyone's face. So looking straight at you, I'd look at you and I'd say, right, even though your eyebrows go up, dramatic appreciation, I go, you're still quite comfortable standing next to people when you meet them for the first time, and we'll step up closer than our friend over here. So I know that straight away. So I'm looking for that gap. So a high gap is somebody who needs more space. Yeah. There are some of the traits that, like broadness of the nose, the actual depth of the eye, sometimes the exposure of the eyelid, which is the next one we'll look at. When it comes to those, there's a little bit of a leeway. So if I'm teaching somebody, I'll teach them along those particular traits to add a little bit more to it. Okay? So as it has in the sketch there, if you're looking straight up to the pupil, looking for that gap. So where it's smaller, like look at George Clooney for instance, his eyebrows are almost right on his eyelid. Very close. Very comfortable standing close to people. Higher set eyebrows, needs more space.
George Clooney can come sit next to me anytime.
So, and the next one, because we're running out of time. Okay. Tunnels in the corner. So when you have, on the next trait, how many people here have, when they've been talking to somebody, gone up to them, and when they've spoken to them, everything's been going good, and then all of a sudden, they've noticed the person isn't really shut off. Okay? You'll find that this will be in the actual exposure of the eyelids. I would find that you are more analytical, that you make your decisions, you need all the information first, you'll analyse it, make a decision. You've also got another trait which tells me that's the best way to do it. In one way, let me get on with it. So you'll take a little while getting it right, and then very quickly you will then move into it. But you want the information first. Same again, same again. You just want the big picture. Don't give me too much detail. Yeah, because, and what will actually happen, if I was talking to you and I'm giving you too much detail, you're trying to move me on. You're trying to finish my sentences, and that's an indicator to me that I've misread you, and you just want the big picture. So if I keep talking, I'll talk myself out of the sale.
And are you reading that from the eyebrow now still?
Now I'm leaving that one from the exposure of the eyelids. On the next page, you'll see on the eyes there's a little fold on some people, and others don't have it at all. If I look at yours, for instance, yours are exposed. When you look at the eyelash, that part of the eyelid, have a look, there's a little fold of skin on some people. Yours goes directly underneath, so yours is very much concealed, which is the animal. You see on the picture on the sheet there, on the next page, you'll see on the top of the photograph, you'll see that little fold. On the one underneath, there's no fold. The eye that goes underneath that fold itself. In this one, there's either a bit of a fold or a gap, and there's no fold. So, put it yourself, more towards the big picture. And then you'll ask the questions if you want. That's what we're looking at there. So, if you're looking at, again, big picture, now, for those that have got, have a look at each other and tell the other person whether they look like they have an exposed eyelid or a concealed one. So can I get attention here, please? Guys? Okay, who has the exposed eyelids? Okay. All those with the exposed eyelids. How many times, as I said before, people are talking to you, and when they're talking to you, they're actually giving you far too much information. What do you find that you try and do? Move them on, finish the sentence? Yeah. So, as soon as you're doing that, you're losing rapport. So I'd be able to look at somebody and go, right, they just want the big picture. So if I said to you, say I was doing a finance broker, for instance, I had to give you a lot of financial information. If I said to you, look, there's a lot of information here that's in this report, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the big picture first of all, and then you tell me what you need to know. Ask me the questions you like. There is a little bit in there that I have to tell you, but I'll let you know when we get to that. Is that okay with you? Sure. And the head's already nodding, right? So what I would actually do, give the big picture, allow you to ask the questions. Then what's left, I go, okay, remember that part where I said that there was some stuff I had to tell you? We're at that boring part. Is that okay if I tell you now?
Sure.
And you accept it? Whereas somebody who is analytical, and I just try and give them the big picture, they're going to try and stop me, give me more detail. What about this? And ask questions on it. So if you're a big picture person and they're analytical, know that you'll have to present all the information. You have to, instead of getting across it quickly, you have to be ready to stop and give all the depth in it. So that will save you a lot of time and money and reduce your cycles. I started with putting these courses together. Most of my training was face-to-face. Then I took it online. Then I started doing small groups online. So I'm training people around the world using Zoom. More recently, I started putting the courses as pre-recorded, and they're up online. One guy has just done a testimonial for me. He did the course, and Cameron and I first met, she did the first course. With that course, it was only looking at 8 or 7 trades, and he's pulled in a $150,000 deal shortly after that with clients that he couldn't get over the line with. Now we understood him, we just changed the way he spoke to them and away he went. So if you're able to read the other person, you make a better connection with them. And it's not to manipulate, it's to have a better relationship. Now, and that's what I do. I can go into any room, meet with people, and make friends. My clients usually become long-term ones. You know, they'll be clients at first, next thing you know, they're associates. So as Karen said, she and I are going to be putting a lot of programs together.
Are you taking questions?
Yep, please. I'll leave it at that. That's probably enough for me, from me, but I'll let you ask all the questions you like.
Could I ask you what's the science behind this? I have a psychic and he looks at people's photos.
Yep.
And I want to know how much psychic and how much is science.
Well, it's there was a judge in America who my whole life has been, everything I've learned formal studies, but most of the stuff I've got is probably from School of Life. And this judge was the same, he worked in a whole mass of industries. While he was sitting in the Supreme Court, he watched all these people coming in. Now, particular face shapes are not going to be criminals. That used to be the belief, certain faces would be criminals. Rubbish. Committing a crime is a matter of personal preference. It's a self-decision. But the type of crime this judge found out, he realised that people were found guilty of different things. Crimes of passion have particular face shapes. Crimes of finance, different face shapes. So he started recording all the traits. So between the 1920s, when he started his, and then Robert Whiteside, who was a psychologist or statistician who started working with him, because first he profiled Robert, then he profiled his wife, and Robert went, oh, there must be something in this, so he then started doing research. Between the 40s and the 70s, they profiled over 10,000 people. Where the judge had 125 traits, they brought it down to 68, where when they asked the person, their spouse, their colleagues, their family, friends, and they said, on that trait, we believe you would do this, 99 times out of 100, the answer was yes. So then, they're the traits we use. So that's where it's come from.
Some research and statistics.
That's right.
Do any of the major companies have conscious employees with home?
Yep. Yeah, we're looking at, micro expressions and things like that. You've got, I'll be doing some work for the Federal Police in June. I'd like to do some training there. So there's nowhere in life where you can't use it. Once you learn in one area, you find you're using it across every area of your life. Okay.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the aging process with the lids coming down, because that definitely does, like that part does decrease with age.
Well, some of the traits, 50% of the traits roughly sort of then, come from what they call nature, which is passed down from the genes from your family, etc. Then we have nurture. So the traits that I'm seeing in a young child are coming from the nature ones. As we get older, we actually change, because it might be somebody who's just big picture. But as you go through life and things that happen to you, you start to analyse a bit more. So the structure starts to change. Mine, when you look at them, they're open at the side, but they're concealed over here. I used to be open all across. But over the last 20, 30 years, with all the research I've been doing, I've been focusing down more. So the muscles have started to say. So yes, you do get a bit of aging, but I use photographs of some very elderly people. And in their faces, you can see completely exposed. So it's not something that just happens to everybody. So it'll come down to how you respond to your environment.
So just on that note, then, Alan, can you then take a picture of a person like when they're really young? So do you have to analyse them at the current age, is my question, or given what you just said?
Yeah, I would analyse them at that age, but if you, with the research I'll be doing, with all the young children I've started with, because those families keep in touch with me, I'm now actually being able to then look at their photographs later on and see what changes. But as far as the skeletal structure, the distance of the eyes, some people's eyes are higher on one side than the other. The amount of symmetry in people's faces is quite astounding when you start to read them. So in that, I can then go, right, that's locked in, the skeletal structure is locked in place. As we get older, the young children, forehead's more bulbous. As we get older, it goes, straightens out. It either stays up straight or it leans back. Those are the straight sequential learners. If they have an interruption in what they're learning, they'll have problems at school. So if they're easily distracted, they're also fidgets, then in that particular case, they miss what the teacher's saying because everything's got to be connected, like joining things by numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They get up to 4, they miss 0.5, the teacher's now on 0.6, the kid gets lost. The kid then starts to get fidgety, gets noisy, gets labelled as being disruptive. Now they've got them on drugs. That's by able to read the child, teacher understands that, goes, okay, child missed it, she asks them, they can read the body language and the expressions. You've got all that, and the kids are going yes, but the body language is saying no. Teacher goes, okay, well you've got it, but let's go back to it. Picks the child up and keeps going. So it doesn't create a problem, which would go on for years through the rest of the school life. So that's where that comes from. So yes, some traits will change. As I said, if you've got somebody who smiles a lot, corner of the mouth is going to be up. They frown, it's going to go down. Muscles like that, if you develop muscle, lifting things, only takes about 6 weeks to change the shape of your body. So the smile is one that will change quite regularly. So with that, take the person away from whatever's causing them misery, put them, stop watching the news, start looking at comedies and things like that, laughing a lot more, mouth will turn up. So those ones will change quickly. So it's a combination of fixed and also changing traits.
Alan, can you read a baby's face when they're asleep?
Yep.
Little Harry over here.
Gotta say music, but no. Going to be more, I'd say, on the discerning side. So there's about 10 traits I can see in a newborn. Now, we're looking at when you look at the shape of the ear, when you've got somebody who's got a nice C-shaped ear, it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, you work
So if the ear was a C shape, I would have said a trait for music. But there's probably going to be a little bit more of a pioneering trait. This comes down in this trait down here. Pioneer is somebody who likes to do things that others haven't done. Oh, and yes, it's going to be very competitive, I can tell you that now. Extremely competitive.
Nothing like his mum then.
Now, when he's got his nappy on, it's hard to talk with the nappy on. Are their legs long or short compared to the rest of the body?
Long.
Long. So, like me, because I'm short up here, but long down here, I'm designed to sit. So I can sit in front of the computer and completely lose the day, unless I get a call of nature or something starts rumbling, I can be there all day. So he'll be able to sit and spend a lot of time doing discerning. Sorry, I'm going to be on the discerning side, but more I'm going to say big picture at the moment. So if you're talking to him and you give him a lot of detail, you're nagging. That's the way it'll come across. So it's going to be just give the big picture.
I reckon every boy says that about their mum.
So there's a lot. I'll give you an example. One of the guys who I profiled his 18-month-old daughter for him, he didn't tell me that she had a phobia with the vacuum cleaner. So every time the vacuum cleaner turned on, she freaked out from 2 months old. So he's big picture, but the girl was very analytical. So he sat down with the vacuum cleaner in pieces, put it together, bit by bit, talked to her and everything else, turned it on, and he said from that age she wanted to push the vacuum cleaner around. So if you know the style, it has a massive impact. If you were telling him you're doing the wrong thing and you keep telling him over and over how to do it, then he's just going to shut down completely and not listen to you. It's going to be aesthetic appreciation as well. So it's all about feeling it inside. So you'll find that with people with aesthetic appreciation will feel it inside, they're quiet about it, they look like they're laid back, but they can get, it's like a jar, lid screwed on really tight, pressure's building up, lid flops, big explosion, lid goes back on, and they're looking around going, what? It's always looking at, where did that come from? The downside of the trait is, lid goes on and it really holds and holds and holds. By the time they actually talk to somebody, it's all emotional, there's depression. So if any time a child starts to go quiet, who's got aesthetic appreciation, then you need to keep an eye, but you've got to be careful how you ask the questions. Because if you ask a lot of questions, they shut down more. So it'll be a case of just, saying, there's something going on, I want to talk to you. Just be there, etc.
Wow.
But I think he's going to be fairly focused as well. In other words, some people have a high level of tolerance, others are more focused. So it'll be a case of if he's doing something, you come out and say, oh, come help me now. He's not going to enjoy it. You come over and say, look, if you're doing something with this, I'll really focus on it. How long do you need to get that to the right level? It's the same thing, you've got staff members, for instance, and they've got this is in the close set eyes. Some people got very wide set, some have got close, those that are closer. You don't go over and say, look, come and give me your hand straight away. If they're busy, how much time do you need? 5, 10 minutes, whatever. Negotiate, go back at that time and they'll come and help you.
Thank you, Alan.